So I was saying, Jody, that people who have listened to the podcast for a while have maybe heard me say this before, which is before the pandemic, the way that I say is the frame was work and our life somehow needed to fit into that. And that's flipped. And I think in a good way that the frame is my life and work needs to fit into the frame. In a ROWE model, that's perfect because then it allows me to do the things there's some very serious issues like, taking care of aging parents as an example, right? And just all the other things that are real life, that are stressors on people.
Right.
That if it was, kind of decelerated that like, hey, my company trusts me. I've got the autonomy to do my job and I don't need to apologize for it. Like,
right.
Hey, I'm so sorry. It's like, no, you're great. Like you do what you need to go do. Right. And we'll support you in any way we can. And I believe the greatest support is treating you like an adult and giving you the respect and the autonomy to go do what you need to go do when you need to go do it.
That's spot on. I think the old model where it's vertical hierarchy, it's like a parental experience. It's like you go to college and you're like free as a bird, either succeed or fail, right? You're used to that. Then you come into the workplace and it's asking to, come in a little later, or that control over that piece puts us back in a situation where we feel like we're children. I mean,
no, it is. It's
the lack of a better term.
Relationship,
right? And so when you think about it, now this will be fun for the audience. When you were in high school, and you were under your parents telling all the rules and everything, you found all sorts of ways around it.
Yep.
You and your friends, smart people, and you figured out ways to climb out your window and not make any noise or whatever that looks like. And so what's happening in workplaces is we're doing the same thing. We're making sure that our green light is on all day long and we get something to wiggle our mouse so it stays on. And we're, in the workplace and we're putting our coat on the back of the chair so that when people leave, they think we're still there. There's all of these games that we play because we're, again, under a parental sort of system and are not trusted to make decisions about when and where we need to do our work. And that has got to change.
There was a really good article in the Wall Street Journal that was talking about productivity theater. And it's everything you just described. It is creating a show of my coat's on the back of the thing and, programs that automatically, stop the screensaver on your computer. It's like, you haven't logged in. Who was it? The company in Utah recently where the CEO is chastising people like, you haven't turned your computer on in 30 days because they're watching what people are doing. It couldn't exist in a ROWE workplace.
No, absolutely not. And you saw there was a lot of programs or apps that came out like during the pandemic to see if people were working. I have a funny story for you. I have a friend and she said she's talking to different managers in her organization. She's a manager as well. And one manager said, we can't allow them to keep working from home. They're just doing their laundry. And so what she did is every time she saw these managers doing something other than work, right? Talking about the game, whatever, she walked up and went, laundry. Right? And so we're worried about the wrong thing. What we should be doing is getting clear with people about the work and not worry about whether I threw in some laundry. Like that just is irrelevant. The work is what's relevant.
Okay, so let's flip the script over here a little bit because okay, Jody, that all sounds really good, and I love it. You talk about the buts,
right?
So I mean, there are some, I think, there are some legitimate questions about but would that really work in our environment for XYZ reasons? What are some of the, that's a fair call out. Maybe some of the top buts that you hear from clients, and what would your response be?
So a lot of the buts come from the idea of I'm looking at it with the old model in mind, right? Mm-hmm. The workplace is the default. We all do work here. And so if you say, we're gonna implement ROWE in a call center. Well, you can't. Call center people can't be, autonomous. Well, guess what? If they're not taking calls and helping the customer, that's a performance issue.
Yeah.
Right. So what happens with people, instead of I'm a call center person and I just answer these calls all day long, and then when it's 5 o'clock, I'm done, or whatever shift I'm on, we get people wrapped around the idea that there's a purpose to what you're doing, right? And what is that for the customer? We worked with this call center that had call handle time on their screens.
Yeah.
So what they had to do, and I'm sure people know what this is, they had this big clock on their computer screen that went 1:59, 1:58, 1:57, and they had to be off the call in 2 minutes. Call handle time. That was the measure of their work. And when we started working with them, we got clear about, like, what are you supposed to really be doing? Helping the customer with their question, right? You're there, you have the phone, but you're not helping people because you're just trying to beat the clock and pass them up to level 2 or level 3. So, radical, I said, let's take that off their screen. And people were nervous. The managers were nervous. So we just took it off their screen. And I said, why don't we focus on the real question people are having and answering that for them? Yes, you might have to go to a different level, but spend your time really, really listening to the customer. Well, what happened with that is, first of all, customer satisfaction scores went up. Less calls were going to other levels. And guess what? Behind the scenes, the call handle time really was. What do you think it was?
2 minutes.
Right around 2 minutes. So there's so many things that we're doing at work with measurement and all sorts of other things that any job is suboptimized.
Mm-hmm.
We've done this in a manufacturing line. Their production went up 30%. We've done it with direct care nursing facilities. So people aren't attached to their work. They're attached to the time I put in that I owe to the company. That goes away. Your job has a purpose, and every single person is part of it. So if I'm a receptionist and somebody goes, well, they can't be ROWE. What do you mean? Customers come in all day. It's their job, their role, their purpose to help people go where they need to go or see who they need to see, so that the organization can meet their goal and their mission and their vision. So instead of going, well, I'm a receptionist, I can't work from home, I go, I'm a receptionist, and here's how I help the organization. Here's what I do to make sure that people on my teams that I support actually can do better work for our customer.
Yes.
So it's pathing your way all the way out, and every single job is important. Bus driver can be ROWE. Have you ever gotten on a bus and you ask, how do you work this machine? Which happened to me a few months ago when I had to get on a bus. And they're like, they just like, I don't want to help you with that right now. I got a schedule. I got to keep going. That's not customer focused.
Right. So one of the things that I would expect people would really say, yeah, but Jody, seriously, how are we supposed to build relationships? You can't slack your way to greatness. I mean, like how do we build relationships? We're people first, work producing units second. So how do you sort of integrate those two notions?
So first of all, we have to start with what year it is. So it's 2023, not 1952. And we think that relationships can't be built, boomers and traditionalists, I just have to call it out, not everybody, but that if you're face-to-face in a physical location, that you actually will build a better relationship. I want to know how you're measuring that. Like, how are we measuring that that's better? So today, we have all these ways to communicate all the time. All these different programs, and we can text and do all this stuff. And we're building relationships. But guess what? A relationship isn't going to build unless we're clear about where we're going together. So that's what builds the relationship. It's the common bond about what the work really is, not that I ran into you in the hallway or we sat in a meeting together face to face. That's an orthodoxy. People build relationships that are face to face is an orthodoxy. It's a belief I have that makes me get everybody back into the office. when we have been working on our relationships for 3 years by communicating about the work.
Yeah. But can we really build a company culture if we never see each other?
Oh, this is fun. This is fun, Bob. Okay. So yes, that's first of all, a really good point because people wonder about that. So yes, you can, because you're building the company around purpose, right? The purpose we all have together and getting really clear on that. So we feel like we're a team no matter where we are because we're all working towards the same thing. And what does see each other mean? I see you right now. Like, what does that mean? What a relationship really is communication. So if I came into your office and we both sat in chairs and stared at each other, we're not building a relationship, even though we're face to face.
That's right.
We're not really building it until we start communicating and have a common purpose.
Yeah.
If you let's take a group of boomers and they have to plan a party. They're going to have 4 meetings and 10 sub meetings and whatever. You take the next generations, Y and Z, they have the party plan, the location, the food, the transportation, everything in 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because they have a common purpose and they know how to do it efficiently, effectively. And that's the future. It's not everybody sitting around a conference table, I mean, that there's another but that we're gonna hit on right now, and that's every meeting is optional. People go crazy about that one. But if you really think about it, how many hours a week do you waste in meetings that are unproductive and going nowhere? Right? So making a meeting optional means I get to have the autonomy to say to somebody, what is the outcome of this meeting? Like, what are we trying to do? Because when you get in a situation where you own your time, you are not going to waste it. You're tired of wasting it. You're tired. You don't have to sit in meeting rooms all day now to look like you're important. So you're like, no, better way for us to do this would be to reach out to 3 people, have them give us feedback by 2:00 tomorrow, whatever. So we come up with better ideas. So every meeting is optional means if you're going to go to a meeting, it should be one that you've all decided is the best way to get that work done. Otherwise, it's a waste of time.
Yeah. So a couple things. One is on being seen. I've got a friend who works at a Fortune 500 in Chicago, back to office, must be here. And the executive team holds up in their wing. They never come out. They're just
right.
So the C is like, it's important. You have to be here. And oh, by the way, you're never going to see me because I've sequestered myself
right
over here. And of course, that trickles down.
Absolutely.
And so now you got everybody locked in their office, right? It's actually worse than it was before. But there's this mandate, this command and control. I'm telling you as an adult where you're going to be today. It actually has no bearing on your work. It's just that I'm going to tell you, you need to be here. And
again, parental, like you said before. And again, it gives people at the top comfort to know that people are in the office. And there's right in the back of their mind, and it's not like right in front, but I'm paying you to do your time.
Yeah.
And get results, but it kind of gets lost. If it looks like people are busy and they're all around and they're meeting each other in the hallway and there's lots of meetings, you feel comforted with that.
So let me ask you this, then why are smart people, very smart people, smarter than me, why are they settling for proxies, being a time card and a door swipe? Why are they settling for proxies for actual production and results instead of just results?
Because people believe that if you tell people when to work and where to work, that they will do better work. Otherwise, and you don't say this out loud, again, this is just in the back of your brains, is that if I don't do that, everything's going to fall apart. But what's missing in all this is what's the outcome? Like work has a lot of activities. You can do all this stuff. But is this stuff, the right stuff? And is it getting you anywhere? And so what's happening is people are just feeling demoralized and they're not engaged. And, you're an adult in every other part of your life, nights, weekends, whatever that looks like. But then with the workplace, you're treated like a child that can't make the right decisions. If there's people that continually over and over again make the wrong decision about getting their work done, then they don't get to work there with that company. Because in our company, we focus on the customer, we work together, we collaborate, we get it done. And we're not in a permission-based, situation anymore. We're just not.
Yeah. So this seems like this would be a fairly core question then. How's a company going to really know what the results are supposed to be if they haven't thought in those terms?
What's so interesting about that is when people don't know what the results are and they really go, oh, I really don't know what that is. What organizations have failed to do is get crystal clear on the direction they're going, more than just at the top.
Mm-hmm.
So if you go down through the organization and you look at each role and you understand that this isn't an HR thing, that job codes and all that. This is really having human conversations with your team and your coworkers and everybody about what is our purpose as part of that vision. Like, what is it that we do that helps further that for the company, the customer, whatever that looks like, and have a conversation about that, not about who's working from home on Tuesday. And what's interesting is that when you start talking about that, you get to listen to what people think the company's really about. Do they even know? Mm. Right? And so then that conversation gels everybody together to, oh, that's what our purpose is here. Okay, now let's talk about what we need to do to create measurable impact. Companies aren't doing that. Job descriptions don't do that. And cascading goals don't do that. And SMART goals don't do that. Well, we have to unplug people from the matrix. We're all in the matrix. We have to unplug them, right?
That's funny. Paradoxically, Gen Z in particular, but I think a lot of people want to know that their work matters, that there's purpose. Mm-hmm. I'm picking up on your word purpose because that's a very on-trend word right now. And this allows the organization to really do a little bit of that soul searching, like, what is our purpose here? Like, why are we doing any of this stuff? And then, at least as importantly, how does my contribution contribute, or how does my work contribute to our purpose? And if you can't tether those things, right, it's either you haven't thought about it enough, or why do you have this person or this role?
Correct. And just think of how that is for people. I mean, if I'm in the office on Tuesday and I'm just doing stuff, and then I have to ask permission to leave at 4:00, I don't really care about the purpose. Don't care. Because guess what? I did my time. I'm out of here.
Yep. So, well, that's the contract. I did my time.
Right. I always like to say this, Bob. Where else in society do people do time?
Prison.
Right. And really, it feels like that sometimes. I have no control during that time, and everything different I want to do besides the parameter of what that is I have to ask permission.
Yeah.
And so we have to break from that. And that's what the results only work environment does. There's a series of steps you take to rewire your brain and unstick yourself from this old model and from the old orthodoxies. And then you start accepting a new belief system so that it doesn't feel weird that you don't know where anybody is. Who cares?
So this sort of seems to be maybe like the other big but out there. I don't know if it's a but it's like, what has to happen at an organization for them to have a ROWE epiphany to like, we have to change? Is it the CEO that gets religion on this? Is it somebody coming in and saying, ma'am, what we've been doing isn't working. I want to propose a new idea. What is the pain point? What is the epiphany that somebody says, I'm open to considering a new way of work?
There's a number of things, Bob, that cause organizations to think maybe we do need to change. And I think that's coming to a head even today, in that they're losing talent. People are saying today, I'm just not going to put up with it anymore. And so they're trying to find that place where they can be an adult. So an organization will say, why are we bleeding people all the time? They're starting to look at it as dollars. That's a lot of money when you bleed people and then have to rehire them. You know that.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. A lot of times we see, like a director in an organization or a VP in large organizations wanting to look for something different. They've tried performance management systems. They have all this stuff, but people still aren't knowing what they're doing. And they're realizing that none of this is working the way I think it should. Those are the people that reach out to us because I'll go back to the matrix. They're outside the matrix looking in, and they're starting to see what's broken.
Yeah.
And then it's overwhelming to think, we have a company of 3,000 people. How do we even, do this? Because I want to put more policies and more rules in place. That's what we first do. And this is the opposite of that. So you can't just tell people do whatever you want. The culture doesn't work that way. The culture is a giant hairball and it doesn't change. And so to get it to change, you have to have social groups of people all at the same time starting to adopt this new mindset, and they correct each other. We call ROWE an adaptive change. And as the culture starts overcome inertia, it's like people are constantly self-correcting. Yeah. But what they're going towards is autonomy and accountability in its purest form. And anything that doesn't fit into that, they question. How is that holding us accountable? Is that the right work? Why am I asking where, Bob is today? I don't need to know that. I just need to reach out and tell him what I need and when I need it. So all of that happening at the same time is what works, because what we try to do all the time is just train managers or push top down, or let's drive change through the organization from the top. But adaptive change is from the middle out. It's not hierarchical. Everybody has to change their mindset. It doesn't matter what your office looks like, where you are in the organization, your title doesn't matter. We're all the same.
Yeah.
So the change has to happen that way.
Yeah, it's very interesting to me that a lot of what you're talking about reminds me of something the corporate executive board did a number of years ago. This is actually in the context of sales, but it's called the challenger sale model. And in a challenger sale, it oftentimes is that director, VP level person who's in the middle of the organization, sees what's really happening, right? And is pushing for change, right? And it's trying to say what we've been doing in whatever context it is isn't working. And not just complaining, right? But also saying, I think there's another model here that is worth exploring. Can a company, I know we need to start to wind this down a little bit. Can a company do this in steps, or start with a part of the business, or not just like completely throw the rudder over and pray it works?
Right. So Bob, that's an important question. In organizations that are 300 people and over, we absolutely do a pilot first.
Yeah.
And it really helps the leadership and human resources and the people that are looking at how to measure the change and is it really working inside of our culture. Yeah. They are watching it. It's like an incubation. Yeah. And we take 10 to 20% of the population of whatever size company it is, and we take them through the steps and the rigor and have the measurement pieces all put in place so that we know whether it's successful or not. And the measurement includes things like real business results, but also engagement and turnover and all of those things that they're trying to solve for.
Yes.
Absolutely a pilot. And then after we study it, we can do some course correction based on how the culture is responding. And then we start rolling it out. Because what you want to do is you want to get that whole mindset as quickly as you can once the incubation happens.
And when does it fail? When does a pilot fail?
Okay, so that's a good question. We haven't had a failure yet of a pilot, but I will tell you how it can fail across the organization. Usually in a pilot, the people, the manager and the director, they're pretty excited about it. But then across the organization, you're going to find people that are going to want to sabotage it because it doesn't fit into their mind until they go through the migration. And so there's going to be people that are going to try to tear it down before it gets to them.
Yeah.
And you have to have a strong leadership team. You have to have a leadership team that says, we are going to do this. And not, well, you're right. We probably should have everybody tell us where they are. No. So it can be a bumpy ride, but once you get through it and the managers feel like, oh, I get it. It's not that I don't have control. I have control over the work, not the people. Right. So now I can really show the success of my management style, which I'm a results coach now. And we can really see that we're contributing. They will get there. But at first it seems like something's coming that, oh my gosh, my career was built on showing up all the time, staying late, going to all the meetings, managing up, all of those things. And now you're saying that doesn't really fit in anymore. You are crazy people. Once they get through it, it's like, why were we working that way before? Why?
Yeah. I would say to my HR executive friends who hopefully are listening to this is, that the desire, I'll say it as nicely as possible, is we want a seat at the table. HR executives often lament that they do not have a seat at the table. And, what they're seen as is actually your kind of guardians of process, programs, right? Policy, procedures, all these kinds of everything begins with a P, except for performance, maybe.
Right.
And so when that's the case, and you're saying, hey, we want you to let go of all these things that right? I think that the irony of all of that would be, bringing this model forward in an organization that says, hey, we're going to flush a lot of this stuff because it kind of needs to be flushed.
Yes.
And bring this different model here actually will elevate HR, not obviate HR.
Absolutely.
Almost guarantee that's the fear.
It's because I feel that human resources too is in a position to help evolve culture.
Exactly.
Yes, there's policies and procedures. Some policies you don't need, but guess what? You get to figure that out. You get to be the future of HR.
Yep, exactly.
In the future of HR, it doesn't mean there's no policies. There's some policies around some things. And there's, career pathing and all those different things that you help people with. Yeah. But you could shepherd in a culture in partnership with us that is going to turn your company to a place where you have shown how you can improve productivity, have people stick to the organization, bring the best talent in, all of those things. Is at your fingertips for human resources. And we have the best experience when we're partnering with HR through the pilot and working with them all the way through the implementation. It's thrilling. And
I can imagine that it would be. We're coming up against time. I want to be respectful of that. If people want to learn more about ROWE, what are the best ways for them to reach out to you, to learn more about your consulting practice, books, whatever?
So they can go to GoRowe.com, GOROWE.com. There's also a QR code that's popping up. We have something called the Autonomy Guide. So if you want to learn more about that idea of what does autonomy look like that's different than flexibility, just go to this site, use the QR code, and you'll be able to download that ebook. Awesome.
Jody, this has been amazing. I love, you're sort of John the Baptist out there and, but this notion, and again, we're seeing it at our little, thing at Career Club is when you give people the autonomy, but also the accountability, there's this massive improvement in efficiency and ultimately actually getting the thing done that you want done. And, like I said, I've sort of happily and accidentally fallen into it. I still struggle with some of the buts personally.
Right.
But this is very good medicine, for me. And I'm really glad to be able to share this model with our listeners to get them to start thinking about basically, you're kind of probably 3 clicks in on why, but why.
Right.
And if it ultimately doesn't take you to, because the better result is the outcome, but it's about more control or more adherence to a policy or whatever, But I really hope that people will take the time to click on the QR code, to go to GoRow.com, learn more about what you guys are doing, because we know you're making a difference at your client companies, and we hope more take advantage of that. So thank you.
Thanks, Bob, for having me here today. It was a great conversation.
It's great. Awesome. So thank
you
you so much. And thanks everybody for listening. Again, if you're on YouTube, please like, comment, subscribe. We'd love to make sure that you don't miss any other episodes. So with that, thank you everyone, and bye-bye.